Texas had made amazing strides in terms of, that have been nationally recognized actually, in terms of reducing the number of people entering prison. And it's not just about reducing the number of people, it's about how the number of people have been reduced. It's been done in a very safe, in a very strategic way, because historically what Texas has done is historically Texas has basically just contained the risk, meaning placed people behind bars, contained them, instead of reducing the risk. Texas spends $6.2 billion every 2 years. That's $1 billion every 2 years in incarcerating people. And about 80% of that money goes only for that risk containment, not for that risk reduction. So policymakers decided to be smart on crime and to say, we're going to use a small percentage and we're going to use that percentage to fund probation and to fund parole and to fund reentry and to fund alternatives to incarceration. As a result, we are actually, for the first time in a long time, under capacity in terms of the number who are in prison, and our communities are safer. And we've saved the taxpayers' dollars, at least $2 billion. One of the biggest things that is in danger of being cut is community supervision. Now, why do we care about community supervision? Well, because prevention is probation. Probation is prevention. And the number one feeder to the criminal justice system was probation revocations for technicals. These are things that are not new crimes. These are things like not showing up to your appointment with your probation officer, not being able to pay the fee. These are things that are technical. And so the number one feeder to the system was probation. So when policymakers said, we're going to start investing on probation, they started implementing risk assessments. They started placing those individuals in the appropriate programming, and they started to do meaningful supervision so that those individuals were not just getting supervised, but they were actually being assisted with the main causes of why they were getting in trouble to begin with. So it doesn't make sense to take away that money so that you could waste it away in just incarcerating that person. It's a waste of humanity. And then you have all the specialty courts. I mean, you have drug courts, you have reentry courts, you have DWI courts. And let's not forget that these courts are ran by volunteers mostly. These are judges that are tired of seeing the same people come before them over and over and over because they have addiction, because they have substance abuse problems, because they have mental health problems. And and it's so sad that people have had to resort to the criminal justice system to address the mental health and substance abuse problems of our community. It really is. But it's come down to that. The criminal justice system has become the de facto provider of a lot of people with mental health, with a lot of people with substance abuse. And yet we are still housing thousands of people right now at a lot of money, which is costing a lot of money, when those people could be better treated in the community. It is going to roll back all of the years and hard work of parties of people who have gotten together despite parties, of policymakers who really genuinely care about the future of Texas. Is going to roll back all of their work. And we're talking about thousands of people ending up behind bars. In 2007, the LBB projections was that if they needed to invest in something that was different or prepare to build more prisons, right? And so, I mean, basically, we don't have the money in the state of Texas right now in our economy to build 8 additional prisons, because that's what's going to happen if you make those cuts. The numbers are going to skyrocket. County budgets are completely overwhelmed right now. I mean, and counties cannot sustain anymore the number of people that are ending up in their county jails, in their county facilities. They just can't. It's too difficult. It's too burdensome. That's one of the biggest findings that we're having, is that counties are really struggling to make sure that those numbers that just don't consume their budgets. At the state level, we're not helping counties reduce those numbers. And we're not helping counties reduce those numbers because there have been laws that have been passed that have included jail time along with citations for misdemeanors. And we're talking about misdemeanors here, okay? So one of the things that we have found that can really help out counties is if next session policymakers can look at those misdemeanors that require jail time, and for the ones that are that are seen as that are not a public safety threat, do you know what I mean? To go ahead and just make it a citation and reduce the jail time. Just make it a citation. People are going to be more likely to afford to pay their citation when they're able to keep their job. Because of this budget, this potential budget cut that the task force can face, they're going to have half of that $28 million to help counties, which is going to be devastating for the counties. And the reason why it's going to be devastating for the counties is because even though Texas, through fees, pays $28 million, that's like a drop in the bucket of what counties are actually paying for indigent defense. You know, Texas is 48 in the whole nation in terms of what it provides to counties to help them with indigent defense costs. So even though Texas has appropriated a little bit more money through fees, those fees are in danger of being taken away because of the budget shortfall, which means that programs are going to dwindle away, are going to go away. And that's when lawsuits come in. You know, and so it's sort of a matter of when are you when do you want to pay? Do you want to pay now and invest in strategies that counties can implement to address the constitutional requirements, needs, or do you want to pay later through lawsuits? Well, there's a thing called the rainy day fund. $9 billion there. Mm-hmm. And there's a thing called loopholes. Can we get rid of those? And there's a thing called creating new sources of revenue. And I know people are like, whoa, creating new sources of revenue. But we have to be realistic. Texas has a lot of demands. Texas has a lot of needs.